What's going on, you beautiful people? Today we're going to talk about crafting and how to profit specifically, because a lot of you guys are maxed out crafters and you don't know how you can eke out every piece of gold that you can for your skill set. So to start right off of it, a brief overview of why crafting is essential, how we're going to break it down. So we're going to cover all the crafting out from provisioning to enchanting to woodworking. We're going to cover it all. We're going to start with the basics, and that is the basics of set crafting. Now, the number one way you will get money as a set crafter is actually going to surprise you, and that is you're going to actually be selling these sets on the open market. So, for example, say I were to search, pick a crafted set. If I were to look up New Moon Acolyte, right? You would search it here, and there would be a bunch of motives, because I probably should search based on apparel, huh? Or weapons, either or. And you can see that people are actually selling this. Always make sure if you buy this, by the way, people are making it 160, because I've seen people sell it for 150, so always check that, just as a note. So you pick any set, and you could just list it up on the open market. I would say it's always better to do sets that are specific for one type of content and don't bridge into others. For example, Law of Julianos will always want Divine. Therefore, you know exactly what trait to put on it. See, this guy's putting Divines on New Moon Acolyte, but people may want New Moon Acolyte in InPen, for example. So that's where you get a little bit of a, discrepancy. I would say the number one set to sell on the open market right now is Heartland. And maybe Red Diamond or Diamond Victory, I always forget how it's called. Sell that right now. It is great to sell. You could sell it probably between 10 to 15K. Purple it out, and that's the cost of materials is like probably 1.5K, and you can profit as much as 10 to 15K. Always check your servers, check your local markets, and honestly, just go around to all the traders and see what's missing. So if I wanted to list on this trader, for example, I'd list up InPen. There's a lot of Divines. They've been up for 2 days. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of interest in that. I would list up a different trait. I also don't recommend New Moon Acolyte because it's very out of niche. But another good one to look at is Hunting's Rage, which we will see if I can spell correctly. Yeah, so you see that people are bluing it out. You can see this is level 20 though. Oh gosh. So you can see some people have purpled it and they're selling it for about 10K. They put the right trait on it, which is always good. You could always slap on an enchantment too. Enchantments to make it purple usually run for about 1,000, and I've seen them retail for about 12.5K ish per Hunting's Rage. I always check. If you want to check too, we'll actually look at that in a second, but I would focus not on pieces like a helmet. I would say focus more on the main 5 body pieces, because Hunting's Rage users are usually going to run a monster set, but not always, but usually. So focus on your main body pieces, because they'll definitely probably want those, because they're not going to run jewelry. An interesting thing that I like to tell people to do when they ever want to see what's selling is just go look. You can actually see what's being sold and for how much. We're not going to go through all this in every trader, but you can actually see what's selling. See, perfect example right here. This is a crafted set. I didn't even script this. This is a crafted set for 12.9K. The cost of materials for that right there is probably 1,500 gold at most, which means that person has profited 11K off of each of those pieces. So I'm sure you guys understand that. So now we're going to quickly just go and show you where you can actually easily craft these pieces. So any usual trading guild will have a really nice house for you to go to with all the crafting tables. I strongly recommend joining a guild that has the crafting tables. Usually you can find one. There's a bunch of free ones. I'm in Mournhold Traders, so they all have them. I really do love Kendra's house. It's beautifully set up. I'll show it to you here in a second, and we will also talk about the next kind of way you can make money as a crafter. And just as a point of note, I'm doing this video with a kitten on me. If she tries to crawl up me again like she did 5 minutes ago, you may hear meowing. That's not me. I don't tend to meow in the headset, usually. So, just as a point of warning. So, you can see here, so say you wanted any set. All of these sets are in alphabetical order. I mean, look at these bad boys. you can just go and you can look at all these things. I think Heartland is over here somewhere. If I knew my ABCs, yeah, here it is. So boom, you can just make the set right here. This is the most popular set right now for PvP, and it will remain the most popular set in the new update because it's being paired with Pariah. It will still be paired with Pariah. So focus on the body pieces. I'd say focus on medium armor for this one because the next update, that's going to be spell and weapon damage. So I expect a lot of people to be running this. Light will also sell. Heavy will also sell to a lesser degree, but that's just a point of preference for you. All right. The other way you can make money is doing writs. I have a whole physical video on writs, so we won't talk about it. Writs are those books. I might have one in my inventory. I think they're under one of these. I don't have one on my inventory, but I have a quest active for one. So this is a craft a writ, basically, right here. If I can scroll to it. Alright, so I craft this item. It completes the quest. I get the writs. I turn those in. I make money. Only master crafters can do it because you can see I need that specific trait of that specific quality, that specific style. So crafters are usually able to do those. They're able to sell them, and they're able to push the market on forward. Alright, so that's for your main body pieces. Obviously, too, there's other little niche things you can do. So say, for example, I have perfect woodworking. I can also create something with a trait that most people may not have. I don't have any Nern Cruxes on me, but say I did, you can just sell a basic generic staff, list it up on the market for 12 to 15k. I would say focus on fire staffs, focus on swords, focus on daggers, because those are going to be the ones that people need to research the most. But other than that, if you have it and you don't want to sell the Nern Crux, because the Nern Crux will retail for about 9 to 10k on my server. It'll be comparable to yours. It'll sell slightly more if you turn it into something that people need to research. So that's my last point for there. And now let's go straight into enchanting. So many of you are master enchanters, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, how do I make money off this bad boy? And it is a great way to make money if you do one of two things. So I would always look at tri-runes, and I will pull up an example here. I always forget which one of those is the good one. I think I have tri-runes on me. Okay, maybe I used them all. Or maybe, no, I didn't use them all. Okay, so this is a tri-rune. Is that 150? Okay, so you got to make sure it's always 160. I always forget which one out of the 10 gives it to you. So here you have a 160 rune, minimum level. This will retail between 20 and 25k. That Hajaku rune sells for 10k. Now this is going to probably be comparable to any server you play on. The Kudas will sell for less, the Hajaku runes, putting them together, profit. Because most people can't do that. So you either take your Hajaku runes and do this, or go out and buy Hajaku runes and do this. Because the profit margin is still 10k. And I always tell people, you need to combine the thing into the most full version of itself that you possibly can. So this is a great tactic for players to do that with. Another actually interesting thing that you can do too that I didn't touch upon. So say Mother Sorrow is selling really well right now, and you have a lot of waxes you bought for like 3k, and you're not going to sell them, or maybe you got a whole bunch of, but they retail for like 3k. Nobody's going to buy those. You can actually add probably about 20 to 30k value to an item by golding it out, and still sell that item really quickly. Some people have even eked out as much as 40k if they're willing to sell it within 5 to 10 days, because people are like, hey, a gold item, I'll just buy it then, I don't have to waste my own waxes. But if you don't want to list your waxes and your items separate, combine them together, and bada bing, bada boom, you can now sell two things at once and have the same profit margin essentially. So that's why I strongly suggest doing that. Now, provisioning is an interesting one, because this one is, I would say the market for this is volatile. And why is it volatile? And we're going to talk about what exactly you should be selling from here right meow. So this is the #1 item to sell point blank. Sugar Skulls, the market crashed. Artanum Takeaway Broth, market crashed. It is now worth too much gold to even buy the stuff. If you try to buy all of these pieces, you had none of them, you would end up losing money on selling the takeaway broths. You need to sell the pickled fish bowls. You get these as a recipe by opening up Sijic satchels. I have a whole video on grinding Sijic satchels. I strongly suggest you grind Sijic satchels and try to get this pickled fish bowl because it is great for fishing, and I think that fishing will be one of the #1 ways people make money in the future of ESO because it is great right now, and I will probably make a whole video on it. So I strongly recommend our 10 pickled fish bowls for your profit. If you have a whole bunch of stuff from doing your rich, you can sell sugar skulls, but I've noticed that the market on them is tanked and everyone and their mom is trying to purchase these. This is also a great one too because this one can only essentially be used by people who've done a quest, and usually tanks will use food like this because it gives them magicka to pull from if they're using an ice staff on their back bar and some magicka recovery. Not always, it's not the most popular thing, but usually people will buy this. Some magicka users will also use this too, although usually they don't need the health recovery. They'll pick a different food instead, but it could be a good food to go through. It costs perfect rows though. The market for that collapsing. Perfect. If your recipe requires you to get perfect row, whoo, you are not in for an easy ride. So that's my word of warning to you: is don't start getting a recipe that has that. There are other recipes too. I think the Witch Mother ones are pretty good. We are pretty far away from the last Halloween event, so not many people may be selling it on your server. It's always good to look to see. This is also a great one. It goes great with Bright Throat Boasts and PvP players. So this could be one that's used by a lot of PvP players running that set. So if you could sell this one right here, that could make you a decent profit margin. Sijic Ambrosia usually does sell, but my word of warning to you is again, perfect row. And then Dubious Karn is another one that's great for like people who are getting into provisioning and want to sell because they have a lot of stuff. You're going to have a lot of white meat, insect parts, and guts bait. You can see I've got a whole bunch of them. And the Beetle Scuttle is the only thing you have to grind. I can make a whole video on where to farm Beetle Scuttle if you want, but this could be a good thing for you to sell if you have a whole bunch of those things. You want to refine it. You want to turn it into something good. Okay. So we talked about all the basics except for Alchemy, and Alchemy always confuses me. So I pulled up a web page that I will probably link in the comment sections below on all the different types of potions you can make. So basically, tri-stats are going to be your #1 go-to because they restore everything. So this will be used by PvP players essentially because they want to regen all their stats because Magicka characters are, running around, dodge rolling, blocking. They need health, they need Magicka, they need it all. And then, so this is how you're going to make those bad boys. You could tell if you're making the best version of it because you want it to last for 47.6 seconds if you have the perk. If you don't have the perk, it will be, I think, 43 seconds. So if you have the perks that makes potion last longer, that's how you know you've made it correctly. So this is, I would say, is probably one of the most popular popular potions to use because trials aren't always getting run 24/7, but I will say there's always some people in Cyrodiil looking for potions like these. And also, too, another thing I've noticed that people do is they actually sell these in the open world in Craglorn, which is great, mind you. I've seen people post up a message selling this potion 25k a stack, selling the other potions 25k a stack. You're looking for spell damage and spell crit ones and weapon damage and weapon crit pots. It will do a couple different things. You're going to be basically looking to replicate those ones that you can buy with your AP points. You'll know if you're doing it right, you want to get to 3, so I'll do the version for stamina for you. You can see I've actually made them before because I'm low on it. And Hermaeus Rot. So this is how you make the version for Magicka. You can copy this down into your head, your brain space. And finally, the final one for weapon damage. I would not recommend trying to sell anything different. Because it's difficult to sell. Like, nobody's really buying any. Oh, it already has it. No, that's not. Increase movement speed. This web page is very weird. Ignore me. I think it wants. What are icons? Alright, there we go. So this is the one you want, not the one that increases movement speed. But you can have potions like that and invisibility ones too. If you have a whole bunch of these things, just sell them. There's no point in letting these things sit in your craft bag all day. So sell these potions onwards, put them forward, and make some profit. My word of caution to you is do this in a way that makes sense for you. There's no point in kind of using all your resources that you're going to use in the future to try to eke out a little bit of gold. And again, too, don't waste your guild trader spots if you don't need it. You don't have to do this as a master crafter. I recommend doing this if you have a whole bunch of space on your slots. If you're like me, you're in 4 Mournhold traders, you need to constantly keep those filled. And this is a great way to do it. Another thing I forgot to touch upon in Enchanting is that you could just sell base enchantments. Kuda, 4K right now on Xbox. Stamina, Magicka enchant, 7K. So if you picked up Kudas, instead of selling those for 4K, sell the glyph for 7K. Just turn it into anything. Just don't make too much of one thing. Don't make like 50 stamina glyphs. Make like 10 Magicka, 10 stamina, 10 increased spell damage, 10 increased weapon damage. Do some weapon enchants. Do it all. Like don't put all your eggs in one basket. And also too, if you really want to, my number one suggestion, if you're trying to craft sets for money, go in Discords. I'm in a Discord called 4Man. I'm actually in 15 ESO Discords. And a lot of them have people who need things crafted. I actually have to craft something after this video ends. And you could just mail that to people, say, hey, is this price okay? You don't even have to charge them sometimes. They'll tip you ahead or pay you materials or pay you extra materials so you can go on and list those items up for more. So that's another opportunity you have. If you're a crafter, put yourself out there. If you have all the traits, be out there. I've noticed that the ESO market relies a lot on players who don't like to talk to other players, like to just buy things from the market and not have to talk in zone chat. So profit off that. Go in the Discords, go in zone chat, be people's crafter, and you can make lots of money. I probably made $1 mil-ish gold in crafting. I do spend a lot of money. Actually, somebody in the comments video had said something about me having almost 4 million gold. I've pretty much blown through all 4 million and then remade another 2.5 million. I am probably going to start a series called Market Watch. This is where I tell you which sets and what you should be doing each month to profit the most you can for that month based on patch changes, updates, events, etc. So if that's something that interests you, put a comment below. But other than that, that's everything I wanted to talk about for crafting. And thanks again, guys, for watching.
Oh, you better remember to like and subscribe to Jake Clips. Or you should. I might have to pluck your eyes if you don't. Or, better yet, I'll skip rope with your entrails. Do it now. Subscribe. Ta-ta. Off with you.